Episode 7 of The Testaments begins with Radio Free Boston giving an update. Gilead Forces' recent attempt to invade Boston has gone horribly wrong and they've suffered heavy casualties. Violence at the border here has only exacerbated the problems, and that puts Daisy in a very difficult spot, given she's obviously a spy. If she's found out, she's going to be killed. Now, further flashbacks show what happened to Daisy after June left her at the diner back in episode 3. She waited, but nobody came to get her. It turns out this is all part of the test, with the waitress, Linda, eventually speaking to her at closing time. When the shift is over, she's dropped off at Rita's place. They're in the process of creating a new passport for Daisy so they can get her out of Canada. Afterwards, she'll be flown over to Colombia and away from Gilead for good. Daisy refuses to go though, wanting to join the fight against Gilead rather than hightailing it away. Rita eventually decides to let her in, knowing they've been waiting for a girl just like her to step up. One of the Mayday contacts in the city has already got her an ID with a new last name, SIN number and a fabricated rap sheet for petty theft. Her name is now going to be Daisy, and Rita is quick to squash her scoffing at the intelligence, or lack thereof in her eyes, of the Gilead girls. Rita, of course, knowing better than most about what it's like inside Gilead. Daisy is tasked with memorising a new backstory for herself, along with remembering the faces of the powerful commanders too. Unfortunately, one of those men that has a rather nasty history of domestic violence is Commander Weston. Remember that name, guys, it'll be important going forward. Daisy is eventually recruited, but she intentionally makes it difficult for the Pearl Girls so she doesn't seem too eager. Eventually though, she's driven up to the border and enters Gilead properly. Back in the present, Daisy continues her role as Pearl Girl, with her latest task having her tattoos lasered off. Elsewhere, Agnes is crushed to learn Garth isn't one of her matches. However, Paula is quick to point out she has some good choices here regardless. Commander Weston in particular is the one to impress. Back at the school, the girls discuss who they've been matched with, and Becca brings up how she's been paired with Commander Maddox after all. There's also a commander from the colonies, and Garth. When they leave the dining room, Agnes pleads with Becca not to marry Garth, but the truth is she doesn't really want to marry anyone. The pair butt heads over their futures, especially when Agnes bitterly retorts about her perfect matchup. They're interrupted though when Commander Weston shows up with armed guards. They've had new intel recovered from Boston that's led them to the school. Inevitably, the Pearl Girls are all questioned by Commander Weston after finding the radio in their bedroom. Daisy holds her nerve rather well, but when it's over, she winds up panicking and tries to contain herself in one of the classrooms. Agnes sees her breathing heavily and eventually invites the girl over to hers that afternoon, admiring her courage. However, things are a little shaky when Daisy lies to Agnes about the various trinkets she's found on the beach, not wanting to shatter her fantasies about this junk from the real world. Anyone else getting serious shades of the Little Mermaid here? With the matches complete, the families then meet each of the prospective commanders, sizing them up and seeing who would be a good fit for their girls. Things with Commander Weston don't go to plan though, when Agnes brings up his previous marriage. On his way out, Weston explains how his ex-wife died in childbirth, and not only did he lose her, but he also lost the baby too. As Commander Weston says, losing his child was the worst day of his life. Paula is absolutely livid at Agnes when he leaves, gritting her teeth and telling Agnes to get away from her. Back at the school, Talia, a fellow Pearl Girl, is snatched up from the dorms for the radio and taken away. Daisy breathes a sigh of relief, knowing how close she came to being caught. As for Agnes, it seems her rebellious nature has only made Commander Weston more interested in her, and that's certainly not good news for our protagonist. Episode 8 of The Testaments begins with Agnes reeling over the bombshell reveal that Becca is due to marry Garth. They've been properly matched and it's hit Agnes hard, given her feelings for him. She's not angry at Becca though, but it still doesn't make it any easier to swallow. As for Agnes, she's matched with Commander Weston, and as part of her engagement has to put together a smash plate. It's symbolic of what their union will be like, and a show that these women are broken in, just as God intended. At school, Shu and Daisy are taken away from the other girls, who are taken to copulation class. Aunt Vidala is the one here giving the talk, but she simply gives the girls a very brief overview and tells them their husbands will do the rest. It certainly leaves a lot of them wanting. Daisy finds herself in a spot of trouble in the bathroom here though, given she winds up getting her period. When Shu finds out, she laments that everybody else seems to get their period before her. Daisy though hides the evidence and asks Shu to cover for her. Later in the episode we do get a really nice moment between them. Shu opens up here and laments that she's had to act happy for everyone else while waiting for her own period. Her parents have been pressuring her every day too. As Shu's little brother was actually on Angel's flight, which is some of the reason there's so much pressure on Shu to continue their family legacy. When Daisy explains the machinations of sex to her, including descriptions that feel ripped right out of a romantasy book to be honest, she scoffs and doesn't believe her. As for Agnes, she notices Holder acting differently, and all of this stems from Dr. Grove. It turns out he's abused her too, and Agnes is shocked when she finds out. She encourages Holder to go and talk to the aunts, but she decides to hang back and wait for the reply. Holder knows this is a risk, given it would brandish her damaged goods and mess up her current marriage plans. Things are tense at school as a result of all this, and it spills over back home too. Despite receiving Becca's engagement party invite, Agnes is not really in the mood to party. She's barely a notch above indifferent during the cake testing and flower arrangements, but Commander Weston is surprisingly nice to her. He brings up how he wants this to be fun for her too, and even helps stand up for her against Paula. The calm before the storm, I wonder? At school, Aunt Vidala calls Agnes into her office. Holder is there too, and they've come to an agreement that the abuse is all just one big misunderstanding. After the meeting, Agnes reassures Holder and tells her she's going to live a great life. During Becca's engagement party, we learn that Garth's father led the fight to keep Boston as a powerful commander. They would have lost it days earlier if not for him. In reality, he was poisoned, an assassination attempt by Mayday. In the middle of this, Agnes talks to her father, who laments how the girls are all so young, but with birth rates so low across Gilead, they don't have much of a choice but to take this route. He simply mutters about it being backed by science. To make matters worse, Paula is even trying to secure a handmaid for them now that Agnes is moving out. Outside, Daisy talks to Garth and pleads with him to get her out of Gilead. She's not going to be able to hide her period for long, and getting married is not on the cards for her. There's not much Garth can do, given he too has a handler, and Garth simply tells her to stick the course. Agnes struggles to be inside Becca's house with Dr. Grove's beady eyes on the girls, and makes a bold decision. She talks to Lydia about Dr. Grove's abuse, and Lydia tells her that Grove will be dealt with in a roundabout way, but for now Agnes needs to keep her mouth shut. Agnes eventually opens up to Daisy afterwards about her abuse, and explains this is a reason she can't go back inside. Daisy is angry and overcome with rage, but she hugs Agnes all the same, tears stinging her eyes. I'll tell you what guys, Daisy getting a period and wearing white the whole time is certainly a choice. She's very lucky that she hasn't been found out already, especially with no pads or tampons. Until the end obviously, when Agnes hands her some over. Outside of that, we see more of Shu's background and why she's so fixated on getting her period. I'd imagine she's under a lot of pressure back home from her parents, and that must be really difficult to handle, especially seeing all of her friends get their periods too, and obviously the pressure she's under because of her brother being part of Angel's flight. Meanwhile, Agnes's character takes on a different dimension this week as she slips into villain mode. She absolutely threw Holder to the wolves in the worst possible way there, and although we do get the narration from her to reflect on this decision, it's still a pretty horrible thing to do. Elsewhere, we see more of Garth's backstory, and the thin slivers of exposition reveal that his father was a big commander in Boston. That's certainly a fascinating revelation, and it'll be interesting to see how that ties into his demeanour and what choices he makes going forward. You see, given how deeply entrenched their family is in the fight, along with how they're clearly depending on Gilead for welfare and a roof over their heads, could Garth have second thoughts about fighting when everything kicks off? However, outside of these little snippets of exposition or pushing the plot along slowly, the pacing has been weirdly pedestrian these past few episodes. It's also some of the reason why I've doubled up these episodes in particular, rather than just doing individual videos. With the exception of the Aunt Lydia episode, which was fantastic, a lot of this season does feel like it's stalling for time. Hopefully the show will pick up the pace a bit as the season draws nearer to its conclusion. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.